All right, so we're starting to get our first comments from U.S. officials following the U.S. airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen yesterday. If you want more details on that specific operation, that video will be linked in the description below. But I want to start out here with National Security Advisor Michael Waltz on why this time it's different. Let's have a listen.
The difference is these were not kind of pinprick, back and forth, what ultimately proved to be feckless attacks. This was an overwhelming response that actually targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out. And the difference here is, one, going after the Houthi leadership, and two, holding Iran responsible. It is Iran that has repeatedly funded, resourced, trained, and helped the Houthis target not only U.S. warships, but global commerce, and has helped the Houthis shut down two of the world's most strategic sea lanes. We have, Martha, 70% of global shipping is now diverting around southern Africa, adding to the cost of goods, disrupting global economies, adding to or shutting off supplies to the United States. President Trump has found it unacceptable. What we inherited was a terrible situation, and this is one of what will be a sustained effort to right that wrong and to reopen global commerce.
All right, so a couple key things there that I think are worth pointing out. First off, it does look like, or at least the administration right now is talking as though this is different because they're going after Houthi leadership. And that's not something we've seen throughout the series of U.S., UK, and Israeli airstrikes over the past 18 months or so. In fact, U.S. airstrikes under the Biden administration largely were retaliatory or preventative in nature, if you will. What I mean by that is the Houthis would launch a missile and then the U.S. would respond by striking that missile launch location. Other times we would see drones being moved out to the shore to be used against commercial or military shipping, and the United States would preemptively strike that target. We never really went after Houthi leadership. According to NSA Waltz, it sounds like that right now is on the table and that we actually did eliminate some Houthi leaders last night. But a second piece here is that Waltz is really pushing the Iran angle. And that was in President Trump's statement originally yesterday announcing these attacks. But Mike Waltz really hammered this home on saying that attacking Iran right now is not entirely off the table. Here, have a listen.
To Iran, support for the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. Do not threaten the American people or worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because America will hold you fully accountable. Does that mean direct military action on Iran is possible?
Well, all options are always on the table with the president, but Iran needs to hear him loud and clear. It is completely unacceptable, and it will be stopped. The level of support that they've been providing the Houthis, just like they have Hezbollah, just like they have the militias in Iraq, Hamas and others. The difference here is the Houthis have incredibly sophisticated air defenses, and they also have anti-shipping cruise missiles, drones, sea skimming types of attack drones, and other ballistic missiles even. They've launched dozens of attacks on multiple warships, dozens of attacks, over 175 on global commerce, sank multiple ships. I just think the American people need to understand what has happened here. The previous administration had a series of feckless responses. President Trump is coming in with overwhelming force. We will hold not only the Houthis accountable, but we're going to hold Iran, their backers, accountable as well. And if that means they're targeting ships that they have put in to help, their Iranian trainers, IRGC and others, that intelligence, other things that they have put in to help the Houthis attack the global economy, those targets will be on the table too.
Now, look, this is one of those tricky points where you never want to say something is off the table when it comes to military action. You want to be able to have as many things available as possible. It does make sense here that we're trying to add a little pressure to the Iranians because at the end of the day, that is essentially the backbone of support for the Houthis. The Houthis are one of the many members of the Iranian Axis of Resistance, so-called. They gave themselves that name. But the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and a variety of Shiite militias across Iraq and Syria, and then previously the Assad regime. But it's going to be very hard to completely eliminate the Houthi threat without actually dealing with their relationship with Iran. And it does seem right now that that's a focus. Again, we'll see if this actually plays out. Now, turning over to how this thing would actually end, which I think is an important question, because right now, what we've seen over the last 18 months is just a continuation of airstrikes. And technically, that's what we've seen so far. So what is it going to take to actually see this thing through to completion? And to that, let's turn to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Here we go.
Well, it all went down because an era of peace through strength is back. Just like in his first term, President Trump had to deal with the weakness of President Obama and get rid of ISIS, and he did it more quickly than anybody else. We're sitting on 4 years of deferred maintenance from Joe Biden, where in particular, when you talk about the Houthis, they were allowed for over 100 times to shoot at U.S. Ships, to shoot at commercial shipping. 4 months ago, when we sent a ship through, it was shot at 17 times. Ships haven't been able to go through for over a year without being shot at. Freedom of navigation is basic. It's a core national interest. And President Trump has said, we will restore that, and we will be unrelenting. I want to be very clear. This campaign is about freedom of navigation and restoring deterrence. The minute the Houthis say, we'll stop shooting at your ships, we'll stop shooting at your drones, this campaign will end. But until then, it will be unrelenting. We got the reports last night, Maria. The Houthi capital felt like an earthquake. Dozens and dozens of precision heavy munitions dropping precisely on the targets that we wanted to hit, sending a very clear message. And the message is clear to Iran as well. And the president said it in his truth. Your support of the Houthis needs to end immediately. We will hold you accountable as the sponsor of this proxy. And I echo his statement. We will not be nice about it. This is not the Biden administration. The message is clear. We will come after the Houthis until they stop shooting at our ships, and the Iranians better stay out of it.
All right, so Secretary Hegseth is getting to something that I feel like we've really overlooked in the last 18 months or so, and that's, yes, the Houthis have fired a lot of missiles and drones at not just commercial vessels, but our military personnel in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and they haven't been successful at ever hitting a manned U.S. craft of any sort, be it aircraft or ship. They have shot down some drones, but they're trying to kill Americans day in and day out. That's the goal. It's not for lack of trying. It's not as though they launched those missiles and they said, I hope that thing comes up short. Every time they push that button, they are trying to kill Americans. The only reason it hasn't happened is mostly because our experienced sailors and airmen out there are able to shoot down these munitions before they impact a U.S. ship, and then a handful of times they just fly off course and they don't actually come anywhere near their desired target. But either way, keep that in mind. When you hear the number of 170 or whatever it might be attacks against U.S. military vessels, every one of those was designed to kill American service members. Now, I do think it's interesting that Hegseth also, you can kind of see the unified message here, bringing Iran back into it as well. So we'll see if there's anything more to this than just a message to Iran, but it does seem like that is a focus in this current operation. Now, one of the big questions here about how we could actually get the Houthis to stop these attacks long term, you'll see the conversation every so often about boots on the ground, as in would that be necessary to actually bring this thing to a close? Secretary of State Marco Rubio hit on that exact question. Here we go.
It could involve ground raids?
Well, those are military decisions to be made, but I've heard no talk of ground raids. I don't think there's a necessity for it right now. I can tell you that as of last night, some of the key people involved in those missile launches are no longer with us. And I can tell you that some of the facilities that they used are no longer existing. And that will continue. Look, it's bottom line, easy way to understand it, okay? These guys are able to control what ships can go through there. They've attacked the U.S. Navy. 174 times they've attacked the United States Navy. We're not going to have people sitting around with the missiles attacking the U.S. Navy. It's not going to happen, not under President Trump.
All right, so I wanted to bring that one up because I'm seeing a lot of internet commentary about the invasion of Yemen and how that could be in the future. There's no indications that that's in the cards at all. There's no U.S. stomach for that. And when you talk to our leaders and get our leaders on the mic talking about this kind of stuff, it's very quickly brushed aside. I don't believe genuinely right now that there is any indication of some sort of U.S. military presence on the ground in Yemen. That said, the Houthis did promise yesterday that they would be launching some sort of retaliatory attack against the United States. And just a few moments ago, we got the first press conference from the Yemeni armed forces, Houthi armed forces, if you will. And they said that they carried out an attack against the United States ships in the Red Sea, targeting using 18 ballistic and cruise missiles and a drone. They said they fired those at the USS Harry Truman and other U.S. ships in the Red Sea. I should mention that as of now, they didn't release any photos, they didn't release any videos of this attack, and the United States hasn't commented at all. The Houthis do have a history of saying they've carried out attacks against ships and there being nothing to it. When they shoot down drones, there tends to be something there. With ships, they're a little more free and loose. Now, they did add in this press conference that they are going to continue targeting not just commercial vessels, but also U.S. military vessels, so long as they continue their support, or in order to continue their support of the Palestinian people in Gaza. As mentioned in previous videos, the Houthis have been very consistent in that messaging. It's the targeting that could probably use a little more dialing in. But that's all we've got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.